everybody, I'm Danny Otto. Welcome into another episode of That Recap Show. Now, before we get into the episode, just like always, major spoiler alerts. We are going to be talking about everything that took place in episode 5 of the Hawkeye series. We're almost at the end. I can't believe it already. But if you haven't already seen that episode, you may want to pause this video, go over to Disney Plus and check out that episode, and then come back and enjoy the breakdown. Now, with that out of the way, let's start the show.
Poppin' Off presents That Recap Show.
All right, joining with me for all of the episode 5 breakdown, it's the one, the only, it's Jon Jon Rico.
Hey.
Hey.
What's up?
Oh man, this was everything I want in an episode 5 in the almost end of the season. This is what I wanted. This had everything from start to finish. There's so many things. There's so many things we can talk about. I'm just going to get into instant reactions right away because I don't want to walk over anything. But at the same time, I want to talk about the most important stuff. The most important stuff, Kate and Yelena together. In that scene, I could have had an hour's worth of just that. Because it went from goofiness to menacing, like really like just dark and almost sinister, back to goofiness, just their dynamic. It was like an odd couple. It was perfect. I would love to see a series or a movie where they're kind of like just together. Like they're on a mission, they have to solve something, they have to do something, and they're working together. I would love that. Also, little side note, I could listen to Yelena do common catchphrases for hours. Like I could just listen to her just say common catchphrases over and over again and never get tired of it, basically. But I'm just gonna stick with that for my initial reactions for now, just for now, because there's so much I want to talk about that I have in my big takeaways. So anyway, what were some of your initial reactions to this episode?
This was a really, really fun episode. I thought, Danny. The same thing as you. I love the scene between Yelena and Kate in Kate's apartment, kind of showcasing like their dynamic and how there's a lot of respect between them, but there was a lot of tension in that scene as well. And I thought that was a really good balance of like those two tones within that one scene. And I love the way that Yelena just kind of like just falls out of the window too, just like straight up out of the window, you know. Really cool little touch. She's Florence Pugh is just like really great in that role. And it's really cool that got to see a little bit of what's been going on with that character leading up to this, kind of getting a little bit more context into her motivations and such. But also, we got to see a really cool scene with Clint in the spot where the Avengers assembled for the first time, which I thought was really great. He kind of took off his hearing aid and had this cool little intimate moment between him and Nat, so to speak, where he's speaking to her at the memorial. But he also had to apologize to her at the same time because he had to go do some stuff that was kind of going back on what he did when she first found him back in Endgame. So there's, again, this show is really great at just balancing tones overall. Like you go from funny to emotional to action super fast, but it blends together super well. And this episode just set up a pretty wild finale, if I do say so myself.
Oh, I cannot wait. You want to get some big takeaways?
Yeah.
Yeah! All right, I'm going to kick us off. So we have 2 answers. I'm going to go rapid, like 2 in a row. First big answer that we got, finally we can answer the question, Yelena got blipped. Oh, shit. And we got that. That was our opening scene.
Yeah.
That's why I was saying this episode was so crazy. It started off like with a narrative of Yelena in 2018, where it's post Black Widow movie, and she's basically going to rescue more and more of the widows across the world. Yeah, then we get her blip scene, basically.
Yeah.
And like we saw, like we kind of already knew what it was like for people where they were coming back and they were instantly where they were, and 5 years had passed for everyone that stayed, but like nothing had passed for them. But we got a really cool chance to see it happen to one person versus it just like happening like really quick in like Spider-Man Far From Home and stuff like that.
It was almost like we were experiencing the blip from the actual perspective of someone who got blipped. So
Right, because
like
everything
really
changed
like,
around
boom,
them.
suddenly. Yeah. We
Yeah.
didn't see this time jump or anything like that. We just saw her reappear right there in
Yeah.
that same room. Yeah.
I thought that was such a cool way to do that. Number one. Number two, it did answer a big question because we were like, if she didn't get blipped, where was she all of this time? Why didn't she help the Avengers? And why didn't Nat reach out to her
Yeah.
during the time span between Infinity War and Endgame? And now we know it's because she was gone. Nat probably looked for her, which is even sadder.
It explains her motivations in Endgame so much more too when you think about it.
Right, exactly. So we get even a sad like this series is doing such a good job to do justice to so many characters. We're getting justice that was due to Black Widow still in this series. Like we're finding out all of this other stuff still just from this series, and I just think it's such a really it's such a cool way to do things. And we were always worried going into this series that like there was just too much. We were getting too many different rumors and stuff. And were they gonna be able to fit this many characters in and this much of a storyline into 6 episodes and stuff like that? But I really think they're doing a really incredible job about it. Like there are so many kind of story arcs going at the same time, but I feel like none of them are really 100% getting lost. And I like that. And I like that we're kind of going through these different ones at the same time. And it really seems it's a really cool way. Anyway, the second thing and my second big takeaway, I know I'm going 2 in a row. This is crazy. This is unheard of. I'm going 2 in a row. My second big takeaway is we did get a big answer. Clint was Ronin when Maya's father was killed. We finally got an answer to that because I was even saying it. I said it, I believe, even last episode that I thought, it was an imposter. I thought it was going to be a setup.
I thought it was Jack.
Yeah, or anyone. I thought maybe it was just a hitman for hire that got the Ronin suit, whatever. Anyway, so we finally found out the answer. It really was Hawkeye. It really was Clint as Ronin. But he does do a little bit. I mean, he takes responsibility for it and kind of puts it out there to Maya that, yes, I did do this. I was there that night where your father was killed. But wouldn't you like to know who tipped me off? It was, your boss. Like he told me to go there and kind of, get rid of them. So
well, he said he had an informant that works for her boss. Right. So that's what obviously leads to the tension between her and her buddy Kazi. But yeah, that fight scene in general is pretty awesome.
Right. But this is also the catalyst we've been looking for to have Echo kind of hit the steps to go from on that side to on the anti-hero / hero side and this is it. We've hit that point. It's that point now. We don't know if she's ever going to forgive Clint or not, but at the same time, now we know that she's starting to, unravel the pieces of, oh shit, Kazi wasn't there that night. So what's going on? And she's starting to ask questions. And I think that's a whole thing that's going to unravel and it's going to be the catalyst that turns her to that side. Anyway.
Yeah. So sorry to interrupt, Danny. To kind of go off what you were saying, what we thought was going to happen on that rooftop battle in the last episode ends up happening in this battle. But I think it's actually handled a lot more. I think it's handled a lot better in this episode because Clint decides to wear the Ronin suit and kind of makes it more personal between him and Maya. So it's definitely just not just I'm just thrown into a group battle on a rooftop scene. He lets him know that, hey, we're both being used as weapons by the same person. So like this is, I know it's like I did it, but you have to realize who's really pulling the strings here. So I think that's a really good, like I said, a good catalyst for Maya's character in general. But man, I'm really interested in like where her series is going to go in general.
Yeah.
But that's really good stuff.
I can't wait. So what's your big takeaway?
Okay, so as my boy Danny would like to say,
Boom.
yes, big reveal. Fisk has arrived. Kingpin is here. He's here in his white jacket and everything. Oh my god, I'm so excited to see Fisk finally in the MCU. So when Kate comes back home and we see Jack being arrested in front of Eleanor, which we can talk about that a little bit more in a second. Kate gets a text from Yelena, who has been following Eleanor around to see who hired her, basically. And lo and behold, you want to know who hired me? Kate Bishop. I love how she always calls her Kate Bishop, by the way. And she goes, Eleanor Bishop. Like, oh, I thought you might want to know. And you're just like, oh no. And then of course we see that great photo of her and Fisk in that meeting, which apparently that's where Eleanor was going when she was being followed by Yelena, was to a meeting with Fisk. But boom, there it is. The whole tie-in with Eleanor to Fisk, and okay. So the question is Jack a patsy? Is Jack in on this? Is the whole thing just a ruse because they want to make Kate not talk about this anymore? Like, it's crazy how we only have one episode left in this show, making us ask more questions than we need to be asking right now, because we're already getting all these reveals, but now we got to throw more questions on top of it and just wonder more things and more theories and stuff like that. And so now I'm back on the train of thinking she's Madame Mask now, and I don't know what to think about anything anymore. But yeah, I love this show. This is a great show, Danny. It's a great show.
I mean, absolutely agree. It's with you. You want to go to predictions? Because this is the best part. This is our predictions before the season finale of this show, basically.
Yes.
All right. I'm gonna kick us off. Predictions. All right. So what you were just saying kind of leads perfectly into my first one. I have two predictions and a couple of really quick reveals that I wanted to go over, but two really quick predictions first. First one, pretty standard. I think this is going to happen. I think we're going to have a coming together of all of these story arcs. I think we're going to get everybody in the same place at the same time at some point in the last episode. I think we're going to get obviously Kate and Hawkeye. I think we're going to get Yelena in that mix. I also think that we're going to get Maya, and I think we're going to get Kingpin. Like, I think we're going to be seeing everybody on screen at some point before this next episode ends. I think we're going to get everybody in the same place. Because we still, if you remember from the teasers and stuff like that, we still have where they're at Rockefeller on the skating rink, and they're both shooting arrows back to back.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be like an epic fight scene where they're taking out a bunch of henchmen, but also Yelena and Maya are there, and they're taking on other people too. I think it's going to be like chaos battle type of thing. But so that's just my first one. And it's it's very likely that's going to happen. And I really want to see Fisk live action before the end of this season. I think we owe it now. They owe it to us. We got his little giggle in his hand. Then we got a picture of him. I think that the natural next step is to have him in front of the camera, just there, even if it's like the last word of the episode or something, or I'll be back, or you know what I mean, like something from him,
right,
live on camera. But the second thing, what you were just saying, leads perfectly into the second thing that I wanted to say. I am starting to believe, and I know we only have one episode left, so I have to start believing now that Jack is really just an innocent party at this point. He may be a little like shady and just like slimy, but I'm starting to believe that he was just a patsy this whole time. Like, he really didn't know that his name was set up on that shell corp. And it was all Maya's, all Kate's mom, Eleanor, set him up for that in case anything ever happened and there was an investigation.
I've never worked a day in my life.
I know, exactly.
So I'm like, I believe this guy. I don't believe this guy's ever worked a day in his life.
Exactly. So I'm starting to think that, like, look, we may not have seen the last of Jack as a character. He may, down the line, he may be the swordsman or other stuff or whatever. But I am genuinely starting to believe that he is just a slimy dude. Not that he's done anything wrong. He's just slimy. So he's our red herring as an audience, basically. We were supposed to believe that he was a bad guy, but he's really not a bad guy.
Hmm.
Anyway, sorry. Jokes aside. Anyway, so
I hear you.
the reveals I wanted to say. So, really quick, Spider-Man is coming up. If you guys have been living under a rock, the new Spider-Man movie is here, basically. The final trailer of Spider-Man, they inserted something that connects to Hawkeye. That is all of the billboards that said a Rogers musical, which was a big thing in the early episodes of the Hawkeye series. But in this episode 5 of Hawkeye, we got one little teeny tiny tease for the events that are taking place in the Spider-Man movie. And I have to bring up a text from our actual editor. So I have to give him credit. He goes, dude, the Statue of Liberty line.
Oh yeah.
Because
in Christmas time.
we already knew that, so we were like, oh, they could be connected in some way. But it's just funny that we have a tease in the Spider-Man trailer that's connecting to some stuff that took place in the Hawkeye, and now we have Hawkeye episode 5 referring to something that we know is connected in the Spider-Man teaser trailer in the movie. Basically, we know that the Statue of Liberty is being remodeled to have a Captain America shield, and we know this. We already know this from leaks and stuff like that. I'm just really interested because now I'm wondering if these are taking place literally at the same time. Could you believe how crazy that is? Like, what if we don't know? The sky's the limit for episode 6. Like, what if just somebody pops in from Spider-Man? Like, we don't know. Anyway, that's my prediction. Sorry I went so long. What about you, Rico? What is your prediction moving forward?
Okay, let me bring us down to reality a little bit here. I'm going to start off with bouncing off of your Fisk prediction, of course, seeing him on camera for the first time. Now, I think it's got to be a given at this point, but what I would like to see is I wouldn't even like to see him that much. I only want to see him at the very end of the episode. And this is the shot I want to see. I want to see the shot that we first saw him in the opening of Daredevil, which is a shot coming from behind him of him staring at a blank wall, which of course is him getting into that mindset. But when you see that image of Kingpin looking at that blank wall, you know exactly who that is. And I think maybe you just end it with him turning around with a little bit of a smile, and then you end it. Boom. Like, you don't need to give him that much more. You already know how good he is in the character. It would be cool to see him kind of go one-on-one with Hawkeye a little bit. That can kind of go into another prediction I have, which maybe that Clint might not make it out of this season. And if that could be at the hands of Kingpin. And what better way to introduce this villain into the MCU than to have him like off one of the original 6 Avengers, like right there on the spot. I think that would be a pretty badass way to establish Fisk as like a don't mess with this guy villain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot to swallow. I know that. But also I got a smaller prediction here, kind of dealing with the fallout between Kazi and Maya here. So of course that, like, we were talking about how Clint tells her about the informant that works for her boss that let her know like what was going to go down that meeting. She was like, why weren't you at the meeting that night? And he's like, I didn't get the call, like playing kind of stupid, but you could tell that they're both like, they're on the same page of what's about to happen here between those two and their relationship. But going back to the Hawkeye comic of it all, which is where Kazi originates from, he becomes a character called the Clown, which is like this really very kind of a scary killer character who he just paints his face white with like a little bit of a teardrop, maybe like some lipstick here and there. Kind of looks more like a mime than he does like an actual like clown. But he's actually responsible for killing a character that we saw in this episode, Grills.
No.
So Grills is a little bit different of a character in the books, but like I feel like his involvement in the show, if they do a season 2, I hope it doesn't turn out the same way they did for Grills there in the book.
Don't you put that evil on us, Johnny Rico.
But if Kazi's the one to do it, that would also just tie it all together too. make him a little bit more of a more badass villain for season 2, kind of make him more upper echelon. Because if you kill somebody that we grown to like over the show, people want to see you get dealt with a little bit quicker there.
Grills is the friend that everyone needs to have. Like,
I know.
Hawkeye just knocks on his door and is like, "Hey, can I come in?" And he's like, "Yeah, sure, whatever." And he's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna leave. I'm gonna go to a hotel." He's like, "Don't go to. You can sleep in my bed." He's like, "I'll just sleep on the couch." He is the friend that everyone needs, basically.
Exactly. So that's the the death that would pull on the heartstrings for sure. The fact that he's been in the show so much is already surprising to me. So like, I feel like the more involved that he gets, he's going to become more of an actual side character. And of course, he's a fireman, so he has usefulness in some regards. So yeah, I hope it doesn't end that way. But there's some interesting routes you can go with a character like Kazi as well. I think he's a really good actor too. That the guy who plays him. So I kind of want to see him kind of like get a bigger role in the second season if they do one, or an Echo show, of course.
Yeah. Very cool.
Very good.
Awesome. All right. Well, that's what we think. Let us know in the comments below. What did you think of this last episode? What do you think is going to happen? What is the craziness that is going to fill the season finale? Hopefully, we're getting a season 2. We still have not heard yet, basically. But as always, don't forget, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to hear about all of our latest video releases. Bye, everybody!